Very good. For everybody's reading pleasure before we head into the formal presentations. Once again, just a reminder on cell phones, and feel free to take calls outside the auditorium. And there are snacks and beverages as well in the sculpture garden if you just walk right through the cafe. For moderation of this session, I'm really pleased to present to you and introduce to you a colleague of ours at the university, at the Center of Excellence, who actually hails from Syracuse. And the moderator for this session is Dave Eilers, the VP of Business Development for a company called Blue Highway. So Dave will tell you a little bit about it, but I'll give you a hint that it's a well-challenged spin-out. So there's really exciting things that are going on there. So Dave's a terrific person to moderate a session that's all about a new set of innovation opportunities and entrepreneurs. Dave has been an enterprise leader who enjoys pioneering new products, opening new markets, and developing new business models, particularly in the medtech space. He has experience with consumer goods, such as leading the introduction and rollout of personal pan pizza for Pepsi Food Service. I didn't know that, Dave. And for the last 12 years, he's been in the healthcare industry, as I mentioned, specifically working in management for 2 private equity investment groups before the 10-company group was acquired in 2006. He is a co-founder of Blue Highway, and again, I'll let him tell you more about it, but no, it's a startup too, founded in 2008. And it's a great opportunity for people who are creative like Dave to apply their interest in an open innovation business model in the diagnostic healthcare arena. So please welcome Dave.
Thank you, Marnie. I really do appreciate the chance to moderate and be a sponsor. I've been here to Buffalo a few times, one for Tom DiNapoli, one actually for the Jumpstart luncheon, similar to the one that we just had. So real quick, just to give you a little background on Blue Highway. We do have sort of a hybrid model. We're on the Syracuse University campus. Our funding came from a few different sources. One, a corporate partner. We also have DoD grants, as well as some New York State grants. We're in a Center for Advanced Technology and privileged to collaborate with a number of universities. In fact, we have about 40 master research agreements around the globe. We've triaged about 400 new ideas. And then we engage in sponsored research and other investments that scale up from there. We basically have 3 options as we go through our triage process and development process, and that is to spin into our corporate parent, to spin out new companies, or to out-license the IP if we feel like we're not in the best position to commercialize. So with that introduction, I want to get right to the 10-minute presentations. This is one of the best parts of what we do around the globe is technology showcases, and I was very impressed with the morning session, so I'm sure that we're going to follow on after lunch here. Our first presenter is Rob Anstey, Esquire. Do we have to be careful of what we say because you're an attorney? I feel better already. And he is president and CEO of Graphene Devices. So please welcome Rob.
Just want to start off by saying thank you so much for the support from the community here for the event like this and what it really brings to this community and to entrepreneurs such as myself. I'd just like to first off make sure this works. Okay. So my name is Robert Anstey. I'm the founder of Graphene Devices, which is a spin-out of the University of Buffalo. To get started, maybe it's good to explain what is graphene. It's got a lot of attention recently as it won a Nobel Prize. 2 inventors over in the UK discovered that it had astounding properties, 200 times stronger than steel, thermal conductivity 5 times that of copper, electrical conductivity higher than gold and silver. A lot of big names have got into this game, from Intel to IBM to Texas Instruments, looking at these profound qualities. But we've decided to go at it from a slightly different angle than the transistors or CPU market, to look at specific areas where this material can have multifunctional performance enhancement to different products. So whether it's heat sinks that also act as your electrical conductivity, whether it's a conductive ink or coating that adds mechanical stability to flexible electronics, or whether it's polymer and composites that have built-in EMI shielding. So what we did is we went out and we developed GRIPs, which are graphene intermediary products. A GRIP basically is graphene in a specific dispersion that allows it to play easily with others. So if it's a composite, you use it to a similar monomer that you put into that composite. If it's an ink, you put it into a specific solvent that works well with that ink. We are targeting, well, obviously very large market areas: military, aerospace, electronics, and clean tech. In order to establish our position in these large markets, IP is very important, whether it's through trade secrets or whether it's through patents. We start off by exclusively licensing a portfolio of several patents over from the University of Buffalo through a licensing agreement that gave them a share of the company. We also have put together an IP roadmap that contains both all our competing IP, an IP landscape, as well as where we believe that we can have anchoring points for further development of our products. We also are going to be filing a half dozen provisionals this summer, mainly along the lines of the solution process, because we have a novel way of making this, as opposed to some of these larger billion-dollar companies who use very high-cost methods of making this on silicon carbide. We have come up with a low-cost way of manufacturing this material. And for the conductive inks and the polymer graphene composites that we are starting in the prototype stages. So the team so far is myself as a CEO. I come from a business background. I'd worked on Wall Street. I'd worked at investment banks in Manhattan. So for me, it was a change of pace to get involved directly in the technology. And as such, I've made sure to surround myself with people who understand this field and are experts in that field. The management team is assembled of 4 different members who are currently part-time. Average experience, 25 years of experience for each of them. 2 of them were former directors in Fortune 500 companies. One of them has been involved in over $500 million worth of VC and private equity deals. And we also have a very experienced, goal-oriented business development individual who has done sales and business development specifically in nanomaterials. Our technical team is comprised of the inventors from the University of Buffalo. Professor Banerjee made ways of distilling this graphene to be usable in a number of different ways. Our Alexander Cartwright is currently the VP of Research for the University of Buffalo, and Dr. Mark Swihart is the Dean of the Nanostructured Systems at the University of Buffalo. So we want to make sure that we cover everything from materials all the way up to devices to work our ways up the value chain. So why is this a safe investment in comparison to other startup ventures? Well, over the past 12 months, we've been able to raise almost $1 million, $860,000 worth of state and federal money. We got a lot of support from the University of Buffalo. Some of the early funding came from the UB CAP program. We also got support from the state, from NYSERDA, and from the Empire State Development. The second on this list is the Army and Navy contracts. These are very important because what they are proof of principle contracts where the Army and the Navy have paid us money in order to show that we can improve certain systems that I can't go into too much detail about in order to enhance performance. In the case of the Navy, it's for jet fighter canopies, EMI shielding, and in the case of the Army, it's for a novel, lightweight, high-strength material that they can put into vehicles and armor. We've also partnered with a global company, but is also local, EMAC. We're in the process of signing the joint development agreement for our first product, which is going to be a conductive ink for flexible electronics and for the energy storage and photovoltaic markets. As of now, they've given us access to their pilot manufacturing facilities. They've given us lab space and office space for $1 for the remainder of the year as good faith for the product development effort that we have with them. And by continuing to nurture the relationship with UB, we have a product pipeline of new inventions and new developments in this technology that will be coming over the years. So some of these markets I want to go a bit more in depth on. The main markets that we're looking at specifically that we think this electric ink can help to get into are the composites and inks, thin film photovoltaic and polysilicon photovoltaic, energy storage devices primarily in the electrode coatings and the anodes, and electroactive polymers, which is a very new market and has been worked on by companies like Samsung who want to make a newspaper that changes as you turn the pages, but it's totally flexible. how does the business model work? What we do is we go out and we talk to OEMs. We talk to the customers from the very beginning in the product development stage. It doesn't make any sense to develop a product and then try to convince someone to use it. You want to develop the product based around what they are looking for. So in the case of EMAC, we realized that the price of silver is skyrocketing. They need a substitutionary product that also offers these other benefits. So right now we're currently developing customized samples of this grip for introduction through their supply chains. After that, we established pilot manufacturing, in this case at EMAC, and using their distribution networks, their sales channels, and their established base of customers, which spans the globe, and currently they have $500 million in revenue annually, we can then go to commercial acceptance. So this is an idea of what the roadmap looks like that connects technology and resources on the bottom to markets and products on the top. It's very important if you want to develop a product that attacks a certain market that you know exactly what the technical obstacles are going to be, as well as the research resources that you're going to need on hand to develop this thing properly. So we've gone through and we've roadmapped our product lines, the first one being the conductive ink, after which moving on to PACE for electrical connectivity used in military devices as well as photovoltaic devices, and then thermal PACE and so on. Eventually going into the energy storage market around 2015, 2016, once we've established proof of principle and got market acceptance in these areas. So to talk a bit more about this conductive ink market, a lot of us probably don't realize how widespread it is now. Silver ink is used everyone has it in your pocket right now, whether it's in your mobile phone or your laptop or your keyboard, or whether it's something advanced like a photovoltaic on your rooftop where it's the grid on the front and the paste on the back. The silver market globally is $1.2 billion opportunity. Everyone that we've talked to is hoping to find a replacement to silver because A, price volatility, and secondly, because it is very, very expensive to put into things as simple as a keyboard or a printable electronics. So they're looking for something to replace that and something that offers other benefits, such as mechanical and thermal benefits. In terms of revenue, I'm sure everyone's seen the hockey stick figure, but we've tried to actually, instead of saying we're going to capture a percentage of the market, we go out and we say we're going to capture customers and certain units and production levels, and in that certain margins and certain revenues, which allows us to grow to cash flow positive by approximately the end of 2014 and reaching revenues exceeding $25 million by 2016. We obviously have competitors in the field, especially since the Nobel Prize was announced. It's been heating up. The three main competitors are Vorbeck, XG, and Angstrom. The one advantage we have is we're not just selling graphene. We are working downstream with these companies to enhance their products and sharing revenue in those products. We never intend to be a commodity supplier. These companies have that possible future where they're just going to end up supplying a material. We've worked very hard to talk with many large companies. We're in process of talking with Tata Steel about coating their steel with anti-corrosion elements. They're the 6th largest steel company in the world. We're also forming an international research agreement with them that's being funded by the Department of Commerce to work internationally on this anti-corrosion to replace chromium because it has a lot of environmental negatives. We're also working with EMAC, as I explained, and Polycast, and Picatinny Arsenal are our main partners with the Navy and Army research that we're doing. So Picatinny Arsenal is down in New Jersey, and they are the center of the Armed Forces Nanomaterial Research Center. And they're very interested in graphene because of the way it can play in every area of the military. And they've been very helpful with us, including it with other materials we could never get our hands on. So the ask right now is $1 million convertible debt, discount to round A. We're using those funds to fill out the management team, to bring in some more product development people, and to really pursue these joint development agreements with these large corporations to make sure that our interests are protected, that we come to market within the next 12 to 18 months, and that we get a fair part of that margin. We are going to expand the business development beyond the current companies we're talking to, and we're hoping to launch that conductive ink in the middle of 2012, although we think we will have a prototype into the marketplace by the middle of next year. Thank you very much for your time. If you have any questions, you can reach me by email. I hope you have a great rest of the day.
Thank you, Rob. So our next presenter is Stephanie McLarty, and She's got an interesting concept. She's president and CEO of Refficient. Did I pronounce that correctly? A repurposing business. So there you go.
Well, thank you, Dave. And first of all, thank you to the BRIGHT Organizing Committee, as well as the Canadian Department of Foreign Affairs and International Trade for allowing me to be here today. My name is Stephanie McClarty, and I am president of Refficient, Inc., an online marketplace and services for companies to resell, donate, recycle, and report on their old and surplus assets. And as you can see from this magazine article, we are gaining traction quickly, and we're showing that being Refficient reaps results. And no, I will not be doing any of those jumps right here. Trillions of dollars are spent on new equipment every single year. In the telecom industry, where I come from, $200 billion are spent around the world on upgrading networks. Now, in terms of computers, which people think of more naturally, 40 million computers are upgraded by US businesses alone each and every year. But what happens to all of the old equipment? Well, there's no single answer, because unfortunately some of it is thrown out, which is a risk definitely to the environment as well as to the companies that do it. Some of it is recycled, but in some cases companies pay for responsible recycling. Some of it is sold or donated, but it's usually limited to who you know and to certain technologies. And companies often ask themselves, am I getting the best price? And finally, a lot of it just sits there because companies don't want to do the wrong thing with it. Yet, it costs them money and it depreciates. So what's out there today are a bunch of solutions. And there's no singular solution for all assets and all re-channels. But we hear time and time again from our customers that what they want is a hassle-free solution that allows them to reduce risk, generate money, and show corporate responsibility all at the same time. And yet, there is a tremendous missed opportunity here because 25 to 60% of what's deemed old and obsolete for one company is actually needed and wanted by someone else. And that's where we come in. We re-it for you. We've developed an online site called Optimal Asset. Here we post equipment that companies and governments no longer need and then sell it either at a fixed price or via auction or list it for donation. Also, our clients can log onto the site and get all of their sustainability reporting around this area. So that means waste diversion, financial impact, cost avoidance, as well as carbon footprint estimations on this process, all in a single place. Now, from a different perspective, if you are a company looking to purchase assets and you want to find out what others have and no longer need, you now have one site to go to find that out. And if you're a nonprofit organization, you now have one site to go to find out what others have and are willing to donate. But we need to make this completely easy for our customers for this to work. And that's why we offer nationwide material management services as well. So that includes doing everything from removals to inventorying equipment that just has reuse value, to managing take-back programs to manufacturers, and the launch of our new Shimple service, or Simple Ship, meaning we take care of all the transportation and customs so that buyers do not have that barrier and we make money as well. And as you can see on the screen, there's a snapshot of our donation page on our website. We are providing a complete solution that's not on the market today. So a one-stop shop that can handle any type of asset and that reaches a global resale network as well as a local donation network and provides sustainability reporting all at the same time. Our clients see multiple benefits. They find new ways to generate cash flow or improve their cash flow from the resale of assets. They avoid costs. They improve their compliance with regulations as well as increase their reach to give back to the community. They also have a central place to access their sustainability reporting, meaning they can take that information, which is transparent, and plug it into their corporate responsibility reports or their press releases. And they now have a new way to reach their supplier diversity targets quickly because we're a certified women's business enterprise. Ultimately, for an average client, we're seeing if it's a nationwide client, we're managing equipment and producing reuse rates of 50 to 60%, as well as generating net proceeds back to them of 50 to 200,000. And in doing so, we're managing about 30 to 50 tons on average, or the equivalent of 7 to 13 school buses full. Now, as a business, our business model is fee plus commission. So we charge a fee to access our site and services, as well as a commission on the resale proceeds. We also charge a fee for any material management that we do. And we are showing that in 10 months of operation, we've got impressive traction. We have several large customers, including some of Canada's largest telecom customers. We have more in the pipeline, and we've been accepted to do an Ontario government pilot project. We have generated over $500,000 in revenue. We are cash flow positive, debt-free, and we are in the black. We are doing this through managing 252 metric tons of equipment, or the equivalent of 33 school buses full, just to give you a visual. We have achieved these results through a solid team. This is actually my second business in this space, and I was 2009 Ontario finalist in the Ernst & Young Entrepreneur of the Year Awards. We also have a lot of experience in both sales and web and IT development. We also have a strong advisory group around us, whom I regularly turn to for support to help us work through the issues. We know we've only scratched the surface. In fact, our sales for each of April and of May were over double of what they were in all of our first quarter. So we put together an aggressive growth plan to realize the opportunity. That includes increasing our client base in Canada, then increasing our client base in the US, both by leveraging our current multinational customers as well as leveraging our supplier diversity leads. Ultimately, we plan to take this globally. Throughout, we're going to be adding in more services. Oh, that actually, in converting from 2010 to 2003 PowerPoint, that's kind of got off. Anyways, we're adding in more services, including repurposing service, as well as expanding our consulting arm. Financially, we had projected most recently $600,000 in revenue for this fiscal year. We'll definitely achieve that. We are projecting revenues in 2013 of $3.4 million with a gross margin of 29%. That does not include any operational efficiencies, which we've already began to implement. We know, though, that we can reach those results earlier, and that's why we're asking for money to help us do that. We have shown that we can execute. We need your help. So that's why we're asking for $1.2 million in total, which will allow us to make key investments in our management team, as well as marketing to get the word out that we exist, as well as really developing the site to be world-class in terms of the right people and the right technology behind it. We know this is only the beginning. The more we go down this path, the more we realize related services that we can offer that just make so much sense for our customers and allow us to make money at the same time. You see, Reficient is addressing a fundamental societal challenge. What do companies and governments do with all of their old stuff? We believe Reficient can change the way that governments and businesses view and manage their surplus assets. And that's why we're creating the world's sustainable marketplace. I'd be happy to talk to you. You can visit our booth and our contribution to the art here in the gallery through our repurposed art over there, which is taking components that we've gotten in and can't do anything with and turned it into art. Please come talk to me. I'd love to speak with you. Thank you.
Stephanie also has repurposed giveaways if you visit her booth, so another reason to stop by. Our next presenter is Brad Goldthorpe, COO of AdDispel. Please welcome Brad.
Good afternoon, and thank you. My name is Brad Goldthorpe. I oversee the business operations at AdDispel, and I'm pleased to tell you about our story today. AdDispel is based on technology licensed from Cornell. It works in the area of cognition and brain performance improvement, with our first target being the Alzheimer's market. Our business model is to take potential therapeutics that we develop take them through the animal testing, and then license them before the clinical trials start. This will allow us to avoid raising this a great deal of money that's needed for the clinical trials and allow us to avoid interaction with the FDA. We have identified 3 compounds that fit with our model. This is a significant achievement. One of the compounds has been documented to work within the bodies. It's covered by our patent, but we feel that that may allow us to condense our timelines a little bit. And then also, importantly, we have received a grant from the Alzheimer's Drug Discovery Foundation. And this is significant to us for 3 reasons. One, it is the mission of that foundation to find technologies they believe will work with Alzheimer's, and they grant very few awards every year. Secondly, this technology was viewed by peer experts in the Alzheimer's research area to be worthy of this investment, and that recommendation came to the Alzheimer's Foundation. And then finally, it'll allow us to begin in vivo work, which is what the pharmaceutical companies we have been talking with have asked us for. A quick overview of the market. Well, I think everybody here knows about Alzheimer's and probably has been touched in it some way. So I'm merely providing some statistics here. The main one that's interesting here is that $2 billion is now spent on this market, despite the fact that there are no therapeutics that have been proven successful. So it's $2 billion, and that's the market we want to go into. A quick overview of the science. Now, every pharmaceutical company seems to have an interest in this area. And recently what has happened is the technology has been focusing on the plaque buildup in the brain, which is believed to prevent communication between cells and cell neurons. And when that communication stops, the cells die. But recently there's been a thinking that alone will not stop Alzheimer's. There needs to be another parallel process which could result in patients needing to take 1 or 2 or 3 drugs, a whole cocktail of drugs. So they have begun to look for these other technologies, often reaching outside their research labs looking for something new. And looking at the Adispel technology, our technology works on 2 aspects of Alzheimer's. One, it prevents the plaque from becoming to the toxic state. Secondly, our compounds work on a unique site that we have discovered and is covered by our patent on the neuron to help keep it healthy, keep it in a state that it can communicate and talk with other neurons so it doesn't die. The unique aspect is we have 2 effects on the process of Alzheimer's. And more importantly, this occurs with a single compound. So a pharmaceutical that we partner with could have one compound that accomplishes both these tasks. Now, that's a tremendous savings for them. They have to go through clinical trials once, not multiple times. They have to talk to the FDA once, not multiple times. And this is a tremendous advantage to us. Okay, so let me be clear about what we're going to do here. Generally, in drug development, there are 3 key steps. One is the discovery of the process and the technology. Secondly, then, is taking that through and testing it in animals, discovering compounds and taking them through. And finally, the clinical trials, which I think we're all familiar with. Our intent is merely to follow this middle stage. This is an area where we've got expertise. Again, we avoid extensive interaction with the FDA, and it's also a rapid value-adding phase of drug development. So where we expect to end up, there's a number of deals that have taken place last fall, and it's interesting these took place after a long period of silence. We think this is because of what happened in the industry where we decided to look at another technology. This gives you an idea of the magnitude of the deals that take place. These are not all upfront payments, but upfront and milestone payments that take place during the development process. Now, the interesting thing is these all occurred right about the same place where we think we'd be in a position to license. The first one, Electosat, occurred even before clinical trials started. The second one was right ready for clinical trials, and the third one is after a few clinical trials started. Now, the third one you'll notice is a diagnostic, which is another area we have interest in. But that gives you an idea of what type of market we're shooting for. And I should add, because we are looking at multiple disease states, multiple compounds, we could be repeating this process a number of times. The team that is working on this, Dr. Hess, has been a professor at Cornell. He's worked in this area for a number of years, and specifically on this technology for about 20 years, and he's providing some great insights to us. Dr. Curry has agreed to be our CEO. Dr. Curry has been a veteran of the pharma in academics and has also spent 10 years with AstraZeneca doing exactly what the people we will be talking to are doing, looking for technology and bringing it into the company and seeing it through the in vivo stages. The other thing is Dr. Curry is also a veteran of another startup that did exactly this, PharmaNova, licensed technology from University of Rochester, brought it to middle stage of development and is expecting a product on the market next year. Susan Coombs has worked a number of years in laboratories with the techniques we'll be using to help us translate those into from Cornell to our business. And finally, I have been a president of a startup and now has worked the last 6 years as a consultant to startups and early stage investments. On the finance side, we see a number of things happening here. We expect within the first couple years that we will be in position to sign a joint development agreement with the company, pharmaceutical company. We also continue to seek grant opportunities with that. We expect that to eventually lead to a licensing agreement within 2 to 3 years. And we put $20 million up here as a potential first signing. You saw the figures before, so it's really a figure that's hard to estimate. We think that this may be an opportunity for investors to take an early exit if that's what they would like to do and have a real nice return. So this is a possible exit stage at 2 or 3 years out. That will be followed then by a number of milestone payments. The current interval is not necessarily annual, but it might be multiple annual events per year. And then finally, once the product is launched, there's the opportunity for royalty payments, which may occur at a very high rate. Cost-wise, we expect that our part of the work is going to be $5.5 million. And that'll be used primarily with contract research organizations that are familiar with the animal model and working with those, and also further developing our research team. Finally, the other thing we'll be doing with it is going out and talking to additional pharmaceutical companies and gauging their interest in moving things along there. And again, as a note points out, there could be multiple compounds, multiple times that we go through this. So our position, what we're looking for is we've raised $300,000 right now. We are looking for $1.5 million. We believe that $1.5 million will get us to a very good negotiating state for a joint development agreement. And that money will be used to further work in the in vivo space and gather further information that will improve our position. The joint development agreement will take us to a licensing state, which again is a potential opportunity for people to get out. So just to summarize things, a market opportunity is very great right now. There's a lot of people out there, and just as a surprise, it's going to increase as the population ages. We have technology that fits right in the path of where pharmaceuticals are looking, and we provide that unique advantage of it being a single compound that'll address what we believe will address this disease. Our business model fits right in with the market is doing now, licensing right before clinical trials, and our technology, pharmaceutical companies, our targets are pharmaceutical companies, and we know the research has very deep pockets with $8 to $9 billion research. And the part we're missing there is we've made significant progress. We've got 3 compounds identified. We've got peer review approval of our science. So thank you very much for your time. On behalf of Addisbell, we believe that a solution to these diseases are going to come from upstate New York, and Dr. Stephen Curry and I would be glad to speak with you further about that. Thank you.
I hope you're beginning to see how rich the Western New York landscape is in terms of entrepreneurship. Next, I'd like to invite up Jerry Horton, President and founder of Sweetwater Energy. Jerry.
Yeah, oh yeah. I'm big, but not that big. Let's see if I can figure out how this thing's going to work here. Obviously, can see right now my animation isn't going to work, so all of that is not supposed to be up there. Sweetwater was founded in 2006 as a DBA, became an LLC in 2007, become incorporated in 2009. We currently have 12 employees full-time and 1 part-time employee. Sugars and other forms of carbohydrates are the next big thing in sustainable energy. When you look at the sunshine out there, the energy from the sun gets absorbed by the plants in the form of carbohydrates, both simple carbohydrates and complex carbohydrates. Then we take those plant materials and we ensile it, and we then extract those carbohydrates and use that to make plastics and chemicals and other materials. Logistics is everything in this business. Transportation of biomass and transportation of this kind of stuff is the killer in your business model. What do we make? We make petroleum replaceable liquid feedstocks. Who's it for? Bioplastics, biochemicals, and biofuels. Today, in the biofuels market, is a $36 billion market alone, just in ethanol. Why do they need it? Reduces production and capital cost. Why is it better? Easily expandable, increases yield, and should investors care? We're IP protected, we're speed to market, and a sustainable business model. Sweetwater, again, is a producer of concentrated liquid feedstocks. We design, build, own, and operate transportable processors that we call sweet machines, using locally produced biomass to produce a liquid feedstock. Sweetwater has 4 pending patents, has a successful seed round of $1.4 million in 2010, currently seeking $4 million in funds for our A round. Sweetwater uses a decentralized business model. We locate our machines near the biomass, we bring the machine to the biomass, not the biomass to the machine. And it's a gentle process. It's a gentle process for a lot of reasons. Can't go into those now, but I'll gladly talk to you offline if you'd like to know more about that. The process is high moisture ensile biomass. We have 65% of our biomass is already water, so it does not require a lot of water for us to actually hydrolyze this material, which is key in lots of parts of the world, into a carbohydrate-based feedstock. Those carbohydrates, again, it can be simple carbohydrates like starches and sugars, and it can also be complex carbohydrates, which is your cellulose and hemicelluloses in the biomass. And a high fibrous biomass material, which can be used for a number of different things. And currently have an operating pilot plant in Rochester, New York. And we support regional businesses by being a regional type of a business ourselves. Our approach is to produce sugars locally, create local jobs, living wage jobs. By the way, out of those 12 employees, our lowest paid employee is $56,000 a year, and it is not a high-tech job. We pay extremely well, good salaries. We use local harvest from the local farmers. We locally produce the Sweetwater, refining it where it is grown. And typical carbohydrate yield from an acre of biomass is complete, like a complete corn plant would be 11,900 pounds of carbohydrates, where if you only took the corn kernels off of that corn, you'd only get 5,600 pounds. Our feature product is a sorghum, but we can process other materials. If you look at a typical corn to ethanol plant like the one out in Medina, and I'm going to sort of concentrate on ethanol because that's where the biggest market is and that's where most of the research has been done. But there's a big one out here in Medina, New York. It's a 12-step process. It takes about 29,000 to 33,000 BTUs of fossil fuel energy to produce a gallon of ethanol, which has 77 to 78,000 BTUs. If you made that with Sweetwater instead of dry corn, you would only take 12,000 BTUs to make the same gallon of ethanol, and you would need about half the capital cost to build the facility. I don't know if any of you do, but I sure do. I remember George Bush standing up a few years back, like 2005, and talking about how great switchgrass was. Switchgrass is not good. 255 gallons of ethanol to the acre. If you look at corn grain, you only get 389 gallons of ethanol to the acre. If you look at the complete corn plant, you get 624 gallons to the acre. And if you look at the experimental crops we've been working with here in New York State, we can get over 900 gallons to the acre. This is a test plot I did with Cornell down in Aurora, New York in 2009. It's different sorghums. The tallest stuff there is 14 feet tall, produces about 42 tons per acre. I'm going to go through these next two slides pretty quick, but to show that we have done the competitive comparison of competitors. One of our competitors would be Blue Fire Renewables in California. They've been around since 1978. Mascoma, which got $14 million of New York State money and built a pilot plant here, but building their first commercial unit in Michigan. Quaterus, our vice president of R&D, come from them. They're over in Amherst area of Massachusetts. And of course, the big guys, ADM and Cargill, could be a competitor, but they're more interested in the consumable sugars for human consumption than they are the industrial sugars market we're in. Another comparison chart here, or table, is around the risk mitigation. We've done a number of these risks, looked at these risks, including feedstock cost, saccharification and fermentation technologies, customer acceptance, and of course, competitors and what that is. And if you want this, email me and I can send this to you, or wouldn't have a problem with that at all. If you look at our profit and loss portfolio and you go to the year 2013, we'll have approximately 68 units in the field, producing net sales of about $91.8 million, with a cost of sales of 64, gross profit of 27, net income of 15.4, with an EBITDA of $18.1 million. Our board of directors is made up of Jack Barron. He's a former president of Paytech and a former Buffaloan. He was raised here in Buffalo. Myself and Aruna Sasonis, which is the founder of Paytech in Rochester, and our largest outside holder of company stock. Our management team is made up of Jack. Jack has 25 years in management, and of course myself, I have 37 years in process development and project management, and I've been an active cattle farmer since 1984. Dr. Sarat Parak is our Vice President of Research, and as I mentioned before, he used to be the Vice President of R&D at Quaterus. He's the best Googled person in the company, if you want to Google him. And Elizabeth Shermer, top-notch entrepreneurial business manager, and she mainly works on our marketing and sales. She was going to be here today, but some personal issues came up and she couldn't make the trip. Benefits to the farmer working with us: you can have an early harvest of your crop and go to Florida early. Your biomass is purchased by the ton. We buy and process weather-damaged crops, which you can't do if like a hailstorm or something comes in. Current farming practices and equipment is used. No crop drying energy. There's years, depending on the price of propane or natural gas, these farmers pay as much as 70 cents a bushel just to dry their corn, so it's dry enough to store it. The potential for year-round income: we can pay them by lump sum or we can pay them by the month. And in-soil biomass is a method of preserving and storing without oxygen. If you look at that, looks like a wall of dirt behind that material. That's actually the previous year's material. I think you'll see them. This is how it's harvested. This is a typical 6-row harvester. It takes 6 of those trucks, hauling about 14 tons each, to get it back about a quarter or half a mile back to the barn, and so it can be stored anaerobically in the pits. That machine travels at 16 miles an hour, single pass across the field. No soil compaction, very low diesel consumption versus some other forms of harvesting and baling of biomass. This shows that same picture as I showed in Little One. What the material then is done, it's leveled and compacted with the tractors, and then it is covered for long-term storage. I've tried material that's over 2 years old and works just fine. It does not deteriorate without oxygen. What benefits does it come to the refiners? The refiners are adding productivity and revenue and profit. We improve water balance. They don't have to have as much water as they would had if they were processing it. If they was to use a 25% water, sugar water or sweet water solution in their mesh batch, they would reduce their water needs by 25%, and they would boost their ethanol yield from 10.5% alcohol to 12% alcohol. Less energy required per gallon. Feedstock diversity, instead of having to always have corn kernels, I could have corn kernels and liquid sugars. Reduction in feedstock transportation energy. We can really reduce the amount of transportation cost compared to the amount of BTUs of energy delivered. Additional capacity with no capital or labor cost, additional labor cost or additional capital. And the economics of scale doesn't come into play. And let me explain that a little bit. Because we're doing this stuff regionally, we're doing it in a form where we're making smaller quantities than it would at a centralized location. And because we're doing it that way, we can sell it to the small guy or to the big guy. It doesn't matter. The price is still going to be the same. So there's really no economy of scale built into our model. So being bigger isn't going to help you. In other words, bigger machines in the local environment isn't going to help you. In summary, we use a decentralized business model. We grow it here, process it here to be used here. Give you an example, Ontario County and here in New York uses 66 million gallons of gasoline a year. If they was to produce 6 million gallons of ethanol in that county, they would be replacing 10 or 12% of the total amount of liquid transportation fuel they have to bring in from outside the county. Unique biomass pretreatment. We have a exclusive on that I bought on a biomass pretreatment that allows me to pretreat heavy sugar materials without it souring. We have a year-round supply of materials, low capital cost, because we are only making sugars. We don't care who uses these sugars, whether it goes in the plastics industry, the biochemicals industry, or the biofuels industry. It really doesn't make a difference to us, and therefore we don't have to have all the capital to build all the equipment that finishes the sugars into other products. We're working with a company right now that's using our sugars on garbage bags, a 2-week life cycle in the garbage bag after it hits the landfill, and another one is the baby diaper industry. We're working in that. We've also worked in the biojet fuel industry, so we're into a number of different places. Lastly, we create rural living wage jobs. I'll let you read my closing statement. And again, logistics is everything. Thank you very much for your time.
Thanks, Jerry.
You bet.
So 2 more to go in this session. I'll invite Hugh Rundle up. I haven't met Hugh, but it looks like he's on his way. He is president and CEO of Top Down Conservation, so please give Hugh a warm welcome.
Thank you, David. My name is Hugh Rundle. I'm CEO and founder of Top Down Conservation. We have a product called Turf Manager, which is a web-based internet program for turf managers. That's people who grow grass, golf course superintendents, parks and rec, universities. And what we've done is provide a digital platform for all their operating records, which historically are paper, and we digitize them. We're based in Rochester at the RIT Incubator. And as an overview for Turf Manager, what we do is we provide a consolidated approach for all operational records, offer you compliance with the DEC, state and federal regulatory agencies for chemical spray applications, provide a transparent operating environment available 24/7. We're seeking 800,000, and I am a serial entrepreneur. I've started 8 companies, and I've sold one for $62 million. The opportunity is the same as the problem, and the problem is manual record keeping and turf management. As you'll see, there's 75% of all record keeping and turf management is done manually. There's no detailed data, there's no transparency, yet they have to keep track of all their assets, labor, inventory, and chemical usage. When a superintendent shows up on a new job, what happens? They go in, they say, there's your 4 file cabinets, here's your all your maps for your irrigation system. They're black and white, two-dimensional, have fun. We know you're going to enjoy working here. Well, these people, they've got, computer backgrounds, and all of a sudden they walk into an environment that's anything but progressive. And what we do, let me just go back to that, what we do is provide a digital platform for all those record keeping, get them out of the file cabinet. Again, 75% are manual, 58% are spreadsheet, 18% paper. We provide a suite of solutions for Turf Manager, and as long as you have access to the internet cloud, you have access to your data. Whether it's a handheld, your laptop, your PC, or any other device, you can get into the Turf Manager platform. We have 4 solutions: Asset Manager, where we overlay all your assets above and below ground on top of an aerial image. Records Management is an electronic filing cabinet for your MSDS sheets, for an intra-departmental communications, for all your training videos. Maintenance Manager, that's where all your inventory, your chemical spray applications, your maintenance applications, preventive maintenance records are all kept for your equipment. And we have a Sensing Manager, and what we do is have the ability to accept any digital signal that's on your property through our mesh network to determine what your water quality is, soil moisture sensing for water conservation. If you want to put sensors onto equipment or your weather station, we can accept all of those. We bring them to the cloud, monitor them. When they're above or below a certain value, we email you, text you saying you have an anomaly condition. And we're agnostic. It doesn't matter what manufacturer you have. It's a digital signal. We don't care. This is an example of Trump National, one of our clients, and this just shows you from an asset manager standpoint the kind of detail that we can provide them. This happens to be all their irrigation system. The blue flags are maintenance flags, and the red flags are accident flags, which are very nice because they can document anomalies for both accidents and maintenance on the course. This is from Gwinnett Parks and Rec down in outside Atlanta, and what we've done here is measure the softball field to find out that there's 28,000 square feet. So we'll put the right amount of chemicals in the tank for 28,000 square feet and not have a lot of extra chemicals left over. Our value proposition is we provide a consolidated digital platform with savings up to 10% of the annual budget, and we provide a nice sustainable baseline so you can reduce your chemical usage, your water usage, your energy usage. As the superintendent at Trump National says, this is going to be a home run. We've got good competition in multiple silos of data. As you can see, there's 5 different ones here, and we have good competition in all of those. The difference between those silos of data and Turf Manager is what we do is we consolidate all those silos of data into one digital platform that's accessible 24/7. A differentiation is we're first to market. Again, we provide a consolidated digital platform, financial transparency available 24/7. And what we do is help establish consistent operating procedures so that you're doing the same thing over and over as opposed to reinventing the wheel. We have a $1 billion global market. We're started in golf, but universities, we're dealing with them, parks and rec, sports turf cemeteries, resorts, and homeowners. The only difference between any of these is the height of the grass. Every one of these people who is a turf manager has to track labor, they have to track chemical usage, they have to track inventory, they've got to track all their assets, and right now 75% of it's paper. We digitize that and make it transparent 24/7. If you take that entire possible install base in the U.S. alone, and again, it's a global product, not just U.S., is over 381,000 units. The ROI or payback for the end user, in golf, the average golf budget is $806,000. Let's round it to 800. Assume a 5% savings of $40,000. It's a $6,000 annual fee for our SaaS application, which means the payback is less than 2 months. And that's per annum. Our marketing strategy, go-to-marketing strategy, is to sell direct and to use partners for OEMs. We're going after multi-managed golf courses and like Troon, Billy Casper Golf, Kemper Sports, because they have a lot of courses and they can get tremendous economies of scale in using our product. Plus the cost of sales to sell a system to multiple is a lot less than trying to sell 100 individual courses. We're also establishing a referral network. That is, getting people who have relationships with clubhouse managers, with golf course superintendents and other turf managers. And what we'll do is give them a $500 referral fee for every qualified lead they give us and that we close. And instead of spending a lot of money on marketing, betting on the come and print ads, internet ads, etc., that's what we're going to do. Whoa. One of those companies that is going to be a referral company is Ewing Irrigation. They have 238 sales reps in 22 states, and which will be a tremendous referral base for us. But what's nice about these, you can see that their distribution is in water-starved states. And when we get going with our sensing solution, they'll be an ideal partner to sell our sensing solution into all those states. Upstate New York, we don't have a water conservation problem. All those other states do. Our clients today, Trump National, Gwinnett County Parks and Rec down outside Atlanta, Hawks Nest in Florida. And in the pipeline, we're talking to Mission Hills over in Shenzhen, China. They've got 30 courses there and other places in China. Troon Golf, we've quoted 80 units. Billy Casper Golf, they manage 120 plus courses. We've quoted them 10 units. Kemper Sports, we've quoted them 80 units. And we're working with Arnold Palmer and Valley Crest. Now there's probably another 25 companies that manage multiple courses. And they probably manage, those other 25 companies manage, the opportunity is at least that number. Let me go back one. On the other number, you see under partners, these are OEM partners. We're in discussions with John Deere and Jacobson. They have an interest in OEMing our maintenance manager along with a certain level of sales. You buy $40,000 worth of John Deere equipment, we'll throw in the maintenance manager for the first year. Proposals year to date in 2011, over 1.5 million. Pretty good pipeline. Our forecast to market, if you assume our 4-year forecast of 3,600 units total for 4 years with the market size of 381, we need less than 1% market penetration to hit a year 4 revenue figure of $28 million. As you can see, in year 4, almost 2,000 units with a revenue of $28 million. Our gross margins are 71%, which is historically within the realm of reason for SaaS applications. Management team, I've started 8 businesses, sold one for $62 million. Robert Christie has got great soil moisture sensor experience. Joe Galasso is our CTO, and Steve Lyons, an entrepreneur who's doing also sales and marketing. And our CFO is Mark Kane here from Williamsville. We have great board of advisors in the key areas: agronomy, remote sensing, mobile computing, and John Smith, who's an entrepreneur, has either started or been part of 16 different businesses. Uses of capital, you can see for $800,000, we're looking for marketing, sales, software, and SG&A. And we anticipated a liquidity event on or before 2015 with an industry supplier. John Deere would be the ideal one because they can use our whole suite of solutions in 8 different divisions. So it'd be great to cross-sell for them. And assuming a 5x EBITDA in year 4 would have a valuation of $55 million. I appreciate your time, and thank you very much.
Whenever there's a golf topic on a nice sunny day like this, I always get interested. If you can get me on Augusta National, I'll invest. How's that? Our next presenter, actually batting cleanup for this round of presentations, is Shep Wild. He's president and CEO of Cure Factor. Please welcome Shep.
So, I'm Shep Wild, President and CEO of Cure Factor Pharmaceuticals. I want to do a little survey before I begin. How many of you in the audience have a close friend or a relative that's died of cancer? More than one? More than two? More than three? It's a devastating disease. So, 562,000, the number of deaths each year in the U.S., an enormous number, and many more worldwide. Right now, there are almost 12 million living with cancer just in the U.S., and it's an extremely expensive disease. So, what has Cure Factor got? We have discovered a fundamental mechanism that enables and protects cancer. We believe that our broad and powerful technology can improve outcomes and enable cures in almost every kind of solid tumor. This is a potential major breakthrough. So, what's the FAC in Cure Factor? Our research has shown that a protein called focal adhesion kinase, or FAK, is significantly overexpressed in all solid tumors. It is a fundamental molecular mechanism that protects the tumor from chemotherapy, radiation treatment, and the body's natural defenses that would otherwise kill the tumor. Further, it's a signaling mechanism, and it's signaling the tumor to grow, to form the blood vessels that are needed to support the growth, and to metastasize to distant sites. In other words, it's fundamental to cancer's growth, spread, and survival. So what do we mean by overexpressed in solid tumors? Well, on the left-hand side is a slide of a normal pancreatic tissue. On the right-hand side is a slide of a cancerous pancreas tumor. The FAK is stained brown, and as you can see, it is way overexpressed in the cancerous tumor. And virtually all solid tumors are dependent on FAK signaling and protection, including the ones on the lower part of the slide, and many more. So let me tell you a little bit about how our technology works. I already said that FAK is a signaling protein. So the first step was to identify those sites that were signaling, like antennas. We then were able to determine what the 3D shape of these sites were. We looked at each of these sites to find a place where a small molecule could jam the site. Using supercomputers, we spun hundreds of thousands of molecules looking for a perfect fit into the 13 binding sites. 13 sites, 40 efficacious molecules. So here's a 3D diagram of a particular binding site on FAK, and here is our drug, C4, fitting into that binding site and blocking that signaling. It's just like putting putty in a lock. By the way, remember that FAK is overexpressed in every solid tumor. Our research has led us to believe that the same strategy would work in every solid tumor. I'll say it again. We believe that our technology can be effective in every solid cancer. And in fact, here is a startling result of our drug C4, which you saw just a moment ago binding into that signaling site on FAK. The black line, which is rising so sharply, is human pancreatic tumor in mice, which grows so rapidly that at day 24 you have to sacrifice the mouse because the tumor has grown so large. The next two lines are our drug C4 and the standard treatment gemcitabine, and the bottom line is the combination of the two. As you can see, with this combination, tumor growth is controlled. This is what the FDA recently gave us orphan drug status on. And at the moment, we expect this combination to be our first drug into human trials next year. Our business model targets 4 cancers, all deadly, all with very substantial cases, and each with huge market potential, from $950 million annually to as much as $10 billion annually. So let me give you an idea about these potential targets. Pancreatic cancer, mean survival, 5.5 months. Current treatment, gemcitabine, extends life about 6 weeks. Melanoma, mean survival is 6 months. This is for advanced melanoma. The current treatment is dacarbazine. It has no efficacy at all for 70% of the patients and only extends life 1 to 2 months for the remaining 30%. Advanced breast, mean survival 19 months. There are a variety of different therapies, and they extend life 2 to 6 months, depending. Lung, if you're lucky enough to get an early diagnosis, you may live a year or 2. Late diagnosis, unfortunately, you're going to live 2 to 4 months. There are combination treatments which generally don't work, but can extend life for up to 4 months for a very small number of patients. In preclinical models, Cure Factor has drugs which are showing excellent results in all of these cancers in combinations with the appropriate chemotherapies. As I said earlier, at the moment our expectation is our first drug into human trials will be for pancreatic cancer with a combination with gemcitabine, which, by the way, is going off patent this year. And just to follow along a little bit on that, Lilly's annual sales of gemcitabine worldwide, which is almost all for pancreatic cancer, were $1.4 billion. That's an enormous market. It's an enormous market potential. So how do we expect investors to make money on this baby? We have no desire to be a pharmaceutical company in the classic sense. However, we do expect to license our compounds to Big Pharma moving on one by one. Again, we have a 40 compound pipeline. Historically, typical license deals, upfront payments, somewhere between 10 and 50 million. Then milestone payments that can be between 100 million additionally and as much as $1 billion actually. And then with market approval royalty on sales of the drug that can range from 10 to 15%. When you think of 10 to 15% of a $1.4 billion worldwide market just for pancreatic cancer, a lot of money. We expect to make a bunch of these licensing deals. The ultimate exit will be the sale of the entire company to Established Pharma, potentially for a vast amount of money. So here's a management team. In the interest of time, I'm not going to take you through it all, except to say I have an extensive background in startup, raising large amounts of money, selling companies for a lot of money. Bill Kantz is a noted cancer surgeon and cancer researcher, head of surgery at Roswell Park here. He's the world's leading expert on the interaction between FAC and tumors. We have a strong board, one of which, interestingly, is David Kaiser, who was one of the founders and the president of Alexion Pharmaceuticals. Alexion is now a public company, and he guided it from a startup to a public company, which is now worth $10 billion. We have a strong scientific team headed by our 2 co-founders, Elena Kornova and Vida Golubskaya. So, just to review what value has been established to date, 20 years of research have been supported by $15 million of National Institute of Health grants, which continue. We have exclusive worldwide license from the University of Florida for 6 core patent applications. We have orphan drug status for the combination of C4 and gemcitabine for pancreatic cancer, which has tremendous advantages, including 7 years of market exclusivity. We expect to be moving into human trials in 2012. This is a big platform technology, more than 40 promising compounds in our pipeline. We're seeking So the opportunity, we're seeking an additional $5 million at this point in time. That's on top of the $15 million that's come from the NIH and several millions which have come from private investors, families, trusts. $4 million of that will be used for early human trials, and about $1 million will be used to prepare the second drug to enter into human trials. So what's our mission? Dramatic improvements in cancer therapy, exceptional returns for our investors, and finally to help establish Buffalo as an important biotechnology center. So, I'm Shep Wild, President and CEO of CureFactor. There's my email. I'd love to visit with you in the balance of the day. Thanks.